Good evening, everyone. Glad that you could make it and join us today. Um, I want to start by just starting with the Pledge of Allegiance, if we could. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
of the United States of
States of
America,
America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
visible
with
with liberty.
liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Next on our agenda is a hearing and privilege of the floor. As we are remote, we will not be doing a hearing privilege of the floor, but I want to remind folks a couple of things. One is that you have a chat box there. Yes, you do. If you need to just let us know something or want to say something, let us go there. But as with all of our board meetings, the board just is going to hear what you have to say. We very rarely will respond immediately unless it's something that has already been discussed and we can just reshare that information. But I want to remind folks that maybe putting things on Facebook and expecting to get answers there. It's not really the best way to address the administration or the board. Um, we would highly prefer, because there's just, enormous amounts of conversation going back and forth. We do not use the Facebook as our record of our record of what we say. So I would highly suggest that if you really want to say something to the board, you want to get a question answered, to just email it. Email it to the administration or email it to us. Our emails are on the website. And I think you'd be getting a much better answer that way, and your question would get addressed a lot quicker that way. So I would encourage folks that if they could send emails, to please do so. It's a much easier way for us to know that something's come in. It gives us a much better record, and it really, to be honest with you, reduces like a whole bunch of side conversations that we're trying to get, your question responded to. So with that said, I'm going to move into the superintendent's comments.
Thank you, Dave. So our survey to parents went out on Friday afternoon. As of this morning, we had close to, I believe, 1,500 responses. Of those 1,500 responses, 78.9%, so almost 80% of our families have opted for in-person instruction, which at this point K-5 will mean every day, and in grade 6-12 will mean a hybrid. That leaves about 20% of our families so far who are opting for the virtual option. That information, of course, is critically important to us. We are planning for everyone returning, but again, realizing that we will have some variation that will help us determine who is going to be teaching where, and which grades, which topics. In terms of transportation, and we were planning on about 50% capacity on our buses. In terms of transportation, of those folks who are looking for in-person education, 46% will need transportation, and 54% don't believe they will. That will be helpful to Drew and his team, again, because we can't run the buses at capacity. So we're planning about 50%, and that will be helpful. We think that we are getting close enough to an actual schedule at both elementary and secondary that we should be able to roll them out next week. If you're familiar with what the Department of Health is recommending or requiring at this point, we will have 3 more community meetings. We have scheduled them for 6 p.m. next Monday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday, and 7 p.m. on Thursday. And those meetings will again be to engage our public. And prior to that, we will release our questions and answers from the last town hall meeting that we had. So these will be town hall meetings. They will be the same type of format. We're also required to have 1 meeting for all staff, and Karen and I are planning to do that Monday at 3 p.m., which falls within our typical faculty meeting time span. So we will manage that one. You know, the requirement is to complete those 4 meetings by the 21st. So we will get that done next week. And I do feel we will have additional information to share with folks. All of our advisory teams kicked off last week. Everyone is engaged in the work to define our protocols and procedures and provide more information to finalize information about scheduling and in terms of transportation and certainly what will go on in classrooms day to day. And as we get that information together, it will become part of our plan, which was submitted on time and is posted on our website. The only other thing I'd like to mention today is that those of you who are interested in attending convention should let Carol know. That's something you're going to do. I know we have sent you some information. I don't know if we've been able to give you a very full opportunity yet, and we haven't received, to the best of my knowledge, the resolutions yet. So we're still working on what does that mean in terms of a voting delegate and those types of things, but please be mindful of that if you want to virtually attend convention. That's all I have for you this evening, unless anyone has any questions for me about anything I just said.
I have a quick question, Susan, and then I'll open it there. The town hall, will it be the same information that was previously presented, or will it contain any additional decisions that may have been made since that point to next week?
Yes, it will contain additional information as it's available to us, Dave. So it will probably be somewhat different than our first one. We continue to work on what virtual instruction will look like. Several of us received an email today with questions about that. It will contain some additional information about what people can expect to see at school. And as I mentioned, as we complete protocols and procedures, we'll be posting them right with our plan. So yes, as we've continued to work, there will be additional information. We have also started receiving information from staff members who do not believe they will be able to return. So some of them are looking for child rearing leaves. Some of them are volunteering to teach remotely due to their medical needs. And at this point, what we've got to be able to do is line up those folks making those types of requests to teach virtually with students who have selected virtual education. And then in some instances, we will probably need to backfill on positions where people are looking for leaves of absence. So there will be a lot of staffing movements, a lot of child discussion within the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
I would tell you that Karen's been working very closely with the YMCA, the Y to provide for before and after school care. We're in that discussion. We think we can manage it. We're hoping they can be our partners as they've always been. Drew's folks will pick up a little heavier lift in terms of additional cleaning, particularly for morning prior to school daycare. But that's huge since initially we were not sure how we could do that. So that will be a great addition for our community.
Yeah, I want to thank you and congratulate you guys on that. I think that's going to be huge for a lot of parents. I think that's going to take a lot of burden off people. I had a question. I might as well ask it. If someone is yet to submit their survey information because they felt they needed a little bit more information, can they do so after the town hall next week?
My preference would be this week,
Okay,
only because that's how we're planning. But
gotcha.
certainly, Dave, if people submit next week, we're going to look at their surveys.
Okay. And
Absolutely.
I would also just add, if they have questions about what might, questions about something, that they could call the school and try to get an answer if it's a question that we have an answer for, right?
They could, or they could email me. I've
Yeah,
received
that's what
several
I would say.
emails this weekend. I've responded to all of them. I'm happy to try. Sometimes I still don't have the answer,
Right.
which I know is less than satisfying, but we are more than willing to try. So they could email Bob, they could email me. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would take that back and say email's the easier way to do it.
Well,
Then somebody's hearing your question.
correct. And there are not people in all of the schools
Right,
today.
right.
So,
So, did
yeah.
anyone else have a question? I apologize. I took up a bunch of time there. No. If not, we'll move through the agenda. We to number 5 to adopt the policy statement for 2021 on free and reduced lunches.
I'll move we adopt the policy on free and reduced lunches as submitted.
Thank you, Pam. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kim. Are there any questions on this? Thank you for the write-up to remind us. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone oppose? Anyone abstain? Okay, next is to increase the teacher's retirement system contribution to the reserve fund. Can I get a motion?
I'll motion to increase the teachers' retirement system TRS contribution reserve fund.
Thank you, Kim. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
The Hal, thank you.
Yep.
Any questions on this? Is everybody's aware of what this is, right? I just want to. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose? Any abstentions? Thank you. So passes. Next is to approve a gift and donation. Can I get a motion?
I'll motion to approve and accept a gift and donation from Miss Susan Jeffords.
Can I get a second? Or was the dog the second?
Second.
Hal second. Thank you, Kim and Hal. Anyone have a question on this? Thank you, Ms. Jeffords. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
oppose? Any abstentions? Thank you. So passes. Communication.
I'll move communications A through C, staffing 1 through 14, and the placement of students with disabilities.
Thank you, Pam. Can I get a second?
I'll second. I'll second.
Thank you, Kim. Susan, did you want to say anything about these? Is there any ones that you?
No, we are trying to make sure that we are doing a good job of keeping track not only of the comings and goings. There are new appointments this evening as well as some resignations, but also as folks move in the district, around within the district, that we have them in the right spots, which we need to do for our ESSA reporting, and also just because we need to know where people are. So sometimes you might be saying, why do they, for example, number 4, under staffing, why are they telling us that Denise and Mackenzie moved? The board agenda serves as our way to do what we call board cleanup after a meeting, so that we make sure that our records are accurately reflecting where folks are and where they're assigned.
And for those who may not have remembered, this is common for us to give the superintendent authority to do some hiring of staff because of the board meetings. We don't want to miss out on having somebody approved for a hiring. So between that period of time, we give Superintendent Schwartz the authority to hire. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose? Anybody abstain? Wonderful. Payroll warrants, number 2. Payroll warrant number 3. Check warrants, A3, A2, H1. If there's no questions, we'll approve those for Drew. And again, great job with all that to everyone in the business office. Other business. Susan brought up the one thing that I wanted to mention, which was the convention. Being remote, I'm hoping that we can get a really good turnout. I know people have work conflicts and things. I was hoping that we would have the resolutions so that we could sort of schedule a conversation about those, but until we get them, there's not much we can do. I will just offer to folks that if we get them between now and the next board meeting, I would highly encourage folks to read them and just jot down some notes on which ones you like, which ones you don't like. I think Pam and I could probably tell you that there's a number of them that you're going to look at and say, what school is this going to benefit? Or, you know, what is this all about? Some of them, Pam, I would say they become pretty political and just trying to get a point across, sometimes knowing they're not going to get passed. And other times they, you know, seem to be a little single school district oriented, but it is our opportunity to help set the agenda for the association.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Dave.
Thanks. Anybody else have any other business?
Dave, I just want to say that typically we don't have the second board meeting in August, but we're going to need that board meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we will plan on meeting on the 24th.
So we will be meeting. It's usually a crazy meeting, so we hope, right? But we are going to be meeting, and we have next week we have the meetings all scheduled. So anyone who can listen in on those, that'd be great. And other than that, I don't have any other business. Anyone else?
Susan, I just have one quick question. I'm sure we don't know the answer yet because there's many that we don't know, but with this hybrid learning, 2 days in, 4 days out of school, how is that going to affect the kids that are playing sports, if there are sports, when New York State says they have to be in school? So do you know if the 2 days is going to count being in school?
Well, they will be able to play sports, Hal, because it's not 2 days in and 4 days out. It's 2 days in person and 4 days virtual.
Okay.
So technically they will be in school all week.
Okay, beautiful. There was some confusion, so thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
But if they don't show up to virtual, then they're not in school.
Correct.
And
Yes, you have to attend.
yeah. Anyone else? Thanks, Hal. That was a good question because that's been coming around a lot. If there's no other questions, I will again apologize that there's no hearing and privilege of the floor. But I promise if you send us an email, we will try to respond as soon as possible. We will respond as soon as possible. I do not believe, unless I'm incorrect, that we need an exec session. Does anyone feel? No? Well, if that's the case, then I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Pam.
Second.
Hal,
Yes,
all in
sir.
favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed to adjourning? Anyone abstaining? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. We're probably going, I'm sorry, I should have said this before. I think our August meeting will be the same way. And the reason that is because for us to get together, we need to go to a school. And what we don't really want to do is to put an extra burden on Drew's staff that they'd have to clean the room we're in, the pathway we walk down, and they have enough work to get the school ready. So I think until September, we will remain doing it this way, unless there's great objections, but I think we'd be better doing it this way. All right, everyone.